Hi guys! So I decided to do just a random tag video because I haven't really done much lately, and I said, hey, why don't I just do this? So this is called the Throwback Tag. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, so the first question, what year were you born in? Well, I was born in the great year of 1980. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. 1980. All right. Do you have any pictures of yourself from when you were younger? If you do, show them. Okay, so I do. I will insert them. What TV shows did you grow up watching? I grew up watching Family Ties, Little House on the Prairie, what else? The Jeffersons. Oh my gosh, I love the Jeffersons. Good Times. I loved Good Times. What else? Like Nickelodeon, I really liked this show called Hey Dude. Does anybody remember that? It was on Nickelodeon. It's about these kids on a summer dude ranch and like all their adventures or whatever. It was kind of cool. A real teeny bopper show. I loved Saved by the Bell. So all those are my favorites. All right. What did you want to be when you grew up, and what do you still want to be that? Well, I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up, and I did. I became a teacher, and I've moved on. So I'm not teaching anymore, but I'm still in education. So I'm very happy about that. What were your favorite toys to play with? Well, my favorite toy was my Cabbage Patch. I loved it. And my teddy bears. Still have them, too. What's the most embarrassing thing that you can remember doing? The most embarrassing thing. 3 songs you love to listen to as a child. So what 3 songs did I love to listen to? I loved listening to Whitney Houston. So, what was that song? Give me one moment in time. I think that's Whitney. That was like my favorite. That one. And oh, I want to dance with somebody. Loved that one. What other song? Oh, let's hear it for the boys. Let's hear it for my man. I know that's not Whitney, but that was one of my favorites too. Let's see. I didn't really dress up for Halloween. This asked about a Halloween costume. I never dressed up for Halloween because I never celebrated Halloween. It's funny though, because as a kid, I always made little packets of candy for the kids coming to our house. So I guess in a way we were involved, but not really. Are there any special things you've kept from when you were a child? My toys. I have like stuffed animals and my Cabbage Patch and stuff like that. So I really loved my toys. What was something weird you used to do as a child? I laughed at everything. At every single solitary thing, I laughed. It was kind of ridiculous because stuff wasn't funny, but I was laughing anyway, and I'd be like cackling back. Yeah, my parents and my cousins and my friends were like, oh, well, shut up. Whatever, it was funny to me, I guess. What's the scariest thing you remember that happened to you when you were younger? Okay, so the scariest thing that happened to me when I was a child was I was left home alone. I think I had to be like 8, maybe 9 years old. I think I was 8 though. And my mom went to the grocery store. And I remember this. Because she came into my room. And I remember her saying something to me. Don't know what, but she must have said, I'm stepping out for a minute, I'll be right back. That must have been what she said. But all I remember is waking up. The house was completely silent. My dad was gone to work. My mom had stepped out. It was just me in the house. I was freaking out. And I heard this tapping. It was like a... like scratching, almost like a tap, 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 scratch, scratch, scratch. And I panicked because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody's trying to come in here and kill me. Oh Lord. So I started screaming. Now, my house that I lived in was a 3-story house. So we lived on the 2nd story. The first level was a tenant that we had because it was a whole other house down there. And then there was a house above us, like an apartment above us. And that's where my uncle and aunt lived. And I screamed my head off. I was crying. I was calling out for anybody who would hear me or come rescue me, whatever. Oh my gosh. I probably cried and screamed for like 30 minutes and no one came. There were people home, but nobody came. I believed that someone was really trying to come in the house and kill me. That's really what I thought. And it wasn't until my mom came home and I was in the corner of my room shaking and screaming and crying. And she was like, what happened? So she ran upstairs to my uncle and my aunt. My uncle who wasn't home, my aunt was home. And she was like, what happened to Opal? And she said, what do you mean? And she was like, you don't hear us screaming, screaming, screaming? She said, I kid you not. Oh, I thought she was getting a spanking. I said, my God, for 30 minutes? Really? No. And my mother was, oh, she felt so bad. But what it turned out to be, y'all, we lived in New York. And y'all know in New York, if you ever been to New York or lived in New York or whatever, in New York, there are mice and rats everywhere. Like how in Florida we have palmetto bugs, aka big old nasty roaches. In New York, it's mice. And the mouse trap had caught a mouse and had caught him by the paw. And so his hand or his paw was caught in the trap and his tail and his back legs were slapping on the ground. And that's what I was hearing. And I don't know, maybe because I was so little, I didn't know that it wasn't no big deal. The mouse wasn't going to come out and kill me. But that's what I thought. Because I was a little girl, I didn't know. So that was the scariest, the absolute scariest moment of my childhood. I will never, ever forget that. What's the other question? Okay, the last question. How is the world different now from how it was like when you were a child? Well, the world is now a much scarier place. When I was a child, I didn't have a problem, being in the house with all the doors and the windows open. Now I wouldn't do that. When I was a kid, the world seemed a lot smaller, I could go to the corner store. I could just walk. Again, I guess I lived in New York, but I could just go wherever I wanted and not worry. Now, I don't want to send my kids out wherever, my kid, one kid. My sisters, I worry about them all the time. When I was a child, I didn't have to worry about stuff like that. I didn't worry about people snatching me up and everything else. I guess not really evident by the last story I just told, but in general, I think the world seemed to be a much safer place. It could be because I was a child and I lived in a world with rose-colored glasses on. So everything to me seemed nice and rosy and pretty and beautiful. So I guess now I think I'm just more aware of what's going on around me. I'm just more aware of my surroundings and what's safe and what's not. So that's the only difference. So that's the end of the throwback tag. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of my subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, you need to become a subscriber. What are you waiting for? It's free, right? But yeah, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe, okay? Deuces.